Hey guys, Logan here for Popular Woodworking Magazine. Welcome to my shop. You know, one of the things that I really like about woodworking is that there are little quirks that you pick up on each and every machine in your shop that help you get more accurate results out of that particular machine. And the drill press is definitely one of those. There are certain things that you learn over the years that really lead you to getting clean and accurate holes here at the drill press, and I want to share some of those with you today that I have picked up over the years. So today we're going to look at this jet drill press, and this is the JDP20S. This is their new smart drill press, but a lot of what I'm talking about applies to every drill press that you'll find on the market. So the first thing we want to look at is the drill press table. Now on most drill presses, like this jet, the drill press table can be angled left or right. And this is useful if you're drilling parts at an angled axis, but for most things, we're going to keep this perfectly square. So we want to make sure that this table is square to the line of the spindle. We have a couple ways we can do this. The first and most basic is to put a drill bit into the spindle. It doesn't have to be super tight, but then we're just going to use a square to check and adjust it to where our square looks like it is lined up with that drill bit. And that is a fairly accurate way to do that, but let me show you a couple better options. Something like this Woodpecker's drill press protractor, and this is meant so that we can lower it down to the table. And then there's a vernier mark on here where we can adjust this table to where it lines up perfectly. So if we're off a little bit, we'll see that that zero line does not line up, and we can adjust it to where it lines up perfectly. And that's a very quick and easy way and a fairly inexpensive way to do that. Now another way that I'm kind of partial to is to use a dial indicator and to tram in this head. Now I'm kind of leaning into the machinist world a little bit here. And now what we're going to do is we are going to take a measurement here. We'll zero that out. And now we'll spin this around and we'll sweep the table and measure it on this side as well. And I can see that this side is just a hair high. So we'll adjust it. We're going to adjust it by half because this whole thing's pivoting. So back over here, let's tighten that guy up. And re-zero. And there we go. That is perfect. So tramming in the head like that with a dial indicator is a super precise way to set your table. And then we can lock it in place. Now, for most things at the drill press, you're never going to need to change that angle. Okay, now that we have the table square to the spindle, we do want to talk about positioning of the table. Now, a lot of times these tables will rotate around the column. So what I do on this JDP20S, I like to make sure this sacrificial block is centered on the spindle. That way, when I do drill into it, I can go ahead and replace that once that gets chewed up. But now we have to talk about positioning the drill bit location. To do that, let's put a drill bit in here real quick. We're going to put just a brad point bit in. We need a way to position our workpiece in relation to the bit. And to do that, I like to use a simple hardwood fence. Now, because this is a round cutter, being that it's a drill bit, it doesn't matter whether this fence is perfectly square to the table or if it's at an angle. Really all we're concerned about is the center point of this bit in relation to the fence. So what I like to do is I like to measure this out. I can just use a ruler for that and position the center point of that bit, say 1.5 inches. And then I just use a pair of short little F-style clamps to clamp this on both ends. Now that fence is positioned, so I know that those holes are always going to be the same distance from the edge of my workpiece to the center of the hole. And one thing I like about this as well is that if any adjustments are necessary, I can just grab a dead blow mallet and make a couple of taps on either end, and it doesn't matter. I'm adjusting the position of that hole either backwards or forwards. It's a super simple way, and it's a really accurate way to set the position of that. So now we have the table taken care of. We're square to the spindle. We've centered the table on the drill bit, and we have a fence set up. So now let's talk about speeds, because that is one of the things that we can really control here is our spindle speed. Now there's really two rules of thumb when it comes to setting the speed of your bit. The first is the larger the diameter of bit, the slower that spindle speed needs to be. That's because we are worried about the outside speed of the maximum diameter of the bit. So the larger the bit, the faster those wings are moving, and inversely, we need to make sure that spindle speed's a little bit lower. So when we're looking at something like this Forstner bit, that's 2 1/8 inch diameter, this needs to be spinning much, much slower than this 3/8 inch brad point bit, which can spin at a much faster speed. And related to that, the second rule of thumb is that the harder the material is, the slower we want the spindle speed to be. We want to allow the bit to cut and pull that material up and out of the hole, but to not burn it. So we need to make sure that the harder material is, if we're drilling steel, that needs to be drilled at a much slower speed than something like an oak or a pine does. Now, those are general rules of thumb. Let me show you this JDP20S screen, because new smart drill presses like this Jet have a lot of that built into the computer system, so you don't really need to worry about it. So on a traditional style drill press, a lot of times the RPM is set by changing belts. But with modern smart drill presses and modern motors in these, the spindle RPM can actually be programmed digitally. So if I want to set the spindle RPM at 1250 RPMs, I can do that on this Jet drill press just by typing it in. And that's cool and all, but what I think is really exciting is when we have the ability to pick our material type on the tool. So hardwood, softwood, steel, acrylic, whatever you want to be drilling, let's say hardwood. We can also tell it the type of bit we're using, whether that is a sander, a countersink, a circle cutter, or a brad point, which is what I use a lot. And we can also tell it the tool diameter. So let's say we're running a 1/4 inch brad point bit. The Jet drill press knows that using a 1/4 inch brad point bit in hardwoods, it recommends a spindle speed of 1000 RPM, which fits right into our conventional speed to diameter ratio settings that we would traditionally use. Now, if I do want to change that, say I know that I like this bit to spin just a little bit faster, I can come in here and I can adjust this a little bit higher. Say we want to run it at 1250. And now I can go ahead and save this as a new setting. So if this is a, let's say it's a cribbage board that I make all the time and I just want to sit here and drill these holes, I can save this as a cribbage board peg setting and have it saved in here. And along with this kind of knowledge that's stored here in the drill press, we have a couple of other things that I think are beneficial to know. The first is we can see motor load. So this is something that the drill press can measure as you're drilling holes. So say I am drilling a big Forstner hole using this 2 1/8 inch Forstner bit in something like hard maple. And I'm getting to a point where I can see that that motor load is spiking. That means I'm probably feeding too hard. I probably need to slow down my feed rate of lowering this quill down to let that motor load drop a little bit to make sure we're getting a clean hole and we're not overloading the motor. So to me, that is super cool. The thing that's a little crazy to me with some of these smart drill presses like this Jet is the ability to set target depths. Turn the depth stop on. We can tell the drill press that we want this hole, say we're drilling this 3/8 inch Forstner hole, We want to stop it at a 1/2 inch deep. Maybe we're counterboring something, maybe we're making a hole for a threaded insert, something like that. We want to stop it. We can tell this drill press that we want to stop that hole at a 1/2 inch deep. And now, when we start the drill press, and we lower this quill, you can see the current depth up here. When we lower this drill press down, it gives us a warning that we're getting close to final depth. And then when we hit that final depth, it stops the drill press. Now, obviously, I'm doing that without a load on it. So as soon as you put material in there and you start cutting, you hit that depth really, really accurately, which to me is an absolute crazy thing that we're able to now have that accessible in a tool. Now, of course, if you wanted to use a standard depth stop, this jet drill press still has that. So we can have that physical stop where it does stop us from going any deeper. And for us old school guys that have a tendency to avoid new technology or have trust issues with new technology, I do like having that available to me if I want. But after using the target depth, I've kind of just started to rely on that. Now, some of the other features that we have here are the ability to turn on our work light. Obviously kind of some of the standard things that you've seen on drill presses in the last 20 years or so is the ability to have that work light, which helps in either low light situations or maybe your shop doesn't have super great lighting. And we also have the ability to turn on our laser cross system on these drill presses. So what that does is that sets a crosshair up on your workpiece centered on the center of the spindle, which should be centered on your bit as long as your bits are nice and true. And what I like about that is that here it's an easy on and off. If you want to use it, great, you can easily turn it on. If you don't want to use it, no problem, you leave it off and you rely upon your fence. One of the really cool things that you may not use all the time, but in an instance where you're drilling a lot of repeatable holes, is this auto start. And auto start is there so that as soon as you start feeding the quill, the drill press turns on. As soon as I let it go, it turns off. So if you were drilling a couple hundred holes in a cribbage board, you can go ahead and drill those holes without ever worrying about turning the drill press on or off as you're going, which is really cool to me. So now we've talked about some of the user features of something like a smart drill press and how they work to help get you a clean and accurate hole by setting the right speed for your bit and offering up a couple of user features. Now let's talk about some of the features that may not necessarily help you get clean holes, but are helpful to you in your shop. Some of those are something like a security pin. So say you have a bunch of kids or grandkids that run around in your shop and you don't necessarily want them to be able to turn your drill press on. This is something that you can set up in the drill press that you do have to enter a pin to turn it on. So it's just a layer of security and added peace of mind to keep kids in your shop safe, or maybe you're in a community shop where people need to be trained on certain tools before they are allowed to use them. It's just those extra layers of security that you can add to something like this drill press when you have these smart features. Now, of course, there are other kind of standard features that you can change in here. Screen brightness, if we're in a super dark shop and we don't need the screen super bright, or if we are in a brighter shop like here, we can turn that up all the way. We can also change the default units. So here we're in freedom units. We are on inches. If you are in a country that uses the metric system, you can switch that over to millimeters. We can change the sounds. There's a lot of features in here that you can adjust. And because this is a smart tool, this is a tool that can constantly be upgraded with new software updates from Jet, which I think is really cool. It keeps your tool that you purchase and you invest in up to date and modern, which is really cool to me. So we've done a lot of talking about how we size our bit to our spindle speed, how we set up our table accurately, how we set the fence to make sure that that is accurate. Now, the only thing left to talk about is how do you choose what drill bit to use? And I really fall into three general drill bits in my shop. The first is a brad point bit like this one that I have loaded in here. What this has is a center point and two cutting spurs, and these make really, really clean holes, and these are my preferred drill bit for anything under, let's say, a half of an inch. The long flutes on them allow chips to be pulled out of the hole very effectively, and you can drill really deep holes without having to back out all the time constantly like you do on some of these other drill bits. When I start to get above let's say a half of an inch, then I start reaching for something like a Forstner bit. Now a Forstner bit has a center point, it has a couple of cutters as well as these wings around the outside that leave a clean hole. These work really well for larger diameter holes. Anything up to about 2.5 inches or so is usually where I'm going to be using these guys. Not often that I need to make a hole larger than 2.5 inches in diameter. The one downside of these, first of all, as we saw in here, we have to turn the speed down a lot to use these, especially in the larger sizes. But the one thing they lack when you compare them to something like a brad point bit is they don't have these spiral flutes that help with chip evacuation. So what you'll find with a Forstner bit is that as you're drilling, you need to back them out much more often to help clear those chips up and out of the hole. If you don't, what will happen is you end up packing a lot of chips in this space, and then not only is it hard to get the quill to come out of the hole, but it can lead to a little bit of burning. But between the brad point bit and the Forstner bit, this covers 95% of the holes that I do in my shop and almost 100% of the holes that I drill in wood, whether that's hardwood or softwood. Now the other type of bit that I keep on hand, and this is mainly for metals, so brass, aluminum, steel, iron, stuff like that, is a standard twist bit. And what you'll notice is that these are very similar to the brad point bit without those little pointy spurs. And oftentimes they'll be a different color because they are a harder material to deal with that harder surface that they're drilling into, like steel or iron. But these twist bits are kind of that extra bit in the shop, just for those times I do need to either drill into steel or cast iron or aluminum or brass or whatever it is. For almost all my woodworking projects, Forstner bit, brad point bits, good set of those, and I'm covered. So there we go. With the right drill bit, the right speeds, an accurate fence, and good even feed pressure, we have really clean and accurate holes. So I hope you take some of these tips into your shop, get a little bit more out of your drill press, and have fun building something.